5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hello and welcome to Truth, Beer, and Podsequences. So this is the podcast where my co-hosts and I listen to all the locally based Cincinnati craft beer podcasts from the previous week, and then we get together here at our gracious podcast host, BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery, and give our version of the truth of how those podcasts went. And hopefully there's not too many consequences from the hosts of the other shows. That's all good. It's all good. So I am Marco. I am a brewer here locally, and my co-host is
Julia, and I am a local craft beer drinker. I love to drink all of the craft beer here in Cincinnati as well as outside of Cincinnati.
And the best co-host in Podcast Landia.
Oh, thank you, sir.
You're very welcome.
I say the same towards you. I could not ask for a better person to do this podcast with.
That's very nice, and I certainly don't think I could have a better co-host. So, great to get together with you here on another Tuesday, and it is beautiful outside.
It's gorgeous.
And again, thank you to our gracious podcast host, BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery. We got producer Ben behind the bar today.
Hell yeah.
We did see the Cintas guy, but we don't talk about the Cintas guy.
No. It would not be a good craft beer podcast.
Nope. Wouldn't.
If we didn't have craft beers in front of us.
That's right. We really drink on this show. For those of you, thank you, by the way, for those of you who have been with us for a long time, thank you. And for those of you who are new, just want to let you know, first, we appreciate your listenership and hope you hang around and come along for the ride. But we really drink on this show.
Yes.
It's not fake.
And because we really drink on this show, we could use your support because drinking is not the cheapest, I don't want to say hobby, but the cheapest thing you could be doing. So, Marky, you mind if I run down real fast the ways that people can support Truth, Beer, and Podsequences?
No, you're reading my mind, Julia.
Excellent. So if you would like to support us, first and foremost, you can like and subscribe to our podcast, Truth Beer Pod, on all of your favorite podcasting platforms. If your platform has an option to leave a review, please leave a review. We would really, really appreciate it. We are at Truth Beer Pod on all of the social media platforms. You can send us emails, truthbeerpod@gmail.com. So far, the only emails we're getting to that email address are the newsletters from Cartridge Brewing. So appreciate that they added us to their mailing list because Cartridge Brewing they put out some absolutely amazing beer, but feel free to reach out to us there. If you have any complaints about our show, on Twitter, reach out to @RagingHop. He will go through all the complaints and let us know, and occasionally we will have a few that we will read from. Don't have any this week, but who knows? We'll see how that goes. And if you would like to buy us a pint or two of beer or just give us a couple bucks to help us upgrade our equipment, go to truthbeerpod.com. There is a nice blue support us link that goes through Coffee, Kofi. You can buy us a pint or two, and we will shout you out on the next show and love you forever.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. We do shout out those supporters who are supporting us in that way.
Yeah, which we should say we do have one monthly subscriber to our show who is always tossing us a couple bucks for each of us to get a pint during the show. So, Josh Engel, you know that we love you even though we give you all kinds of crap when we recap your podcast. So thank you.
Truly appreciate your support that way, Django Food Cake.
Absolutely. Although since I support their show, we basically just hand the same
bill
Spider-Man back and forth over and over every month. But you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way.
Did they have any Patreon content?
Not yet. They're supposed to be putting up some Patreon content soon. We'll talk about that a little bit when we recap Shift Beers, either first or last in the show. We don't have a lot to go over today, but we need to let people know what we're drinking because
that's right.
We drink on this show.
It's
for part of what makes this a craft beer podcast. Marco, what is in your glass right now?
I have, which is on tap here at BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery, number 27. That is Sway Strawberry Guava from MadTree. That is one of their vodka sodas.
So, not a beer. But as I told Caroline during the Weekly Pint, I appreciate the effort.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. Even if you're drinking water, who cares? Just
Yeah.
Do what you like. Do whatever you want. Do what makes
Sure.
you happy. I have from Seventh Sun Brewing their Alpine Architecture Pilsner, and it is nice and crisp and pretty much perfect for a warm May day such as today.
Awesome.
Nice. Awesome.
We just talk about the fact that there aren't too many podcasts to recap this week, which is cool.
Some weeks are busier than others.
That happens. So we have Cincy Brewcast and Shift Beers.
That is correct. And because we do tend to have the most fun with the Shift Beers recap, and we tend to do that last, let's not ruin a good thing. Let's hit up Cincy Brewcast first.
Let it roll.
And end the show with Shift Beers.
That's right. Let's go.
So, Cincinnati Brewcast. Why the hell do I keep doing that? Gnome, I am...
Let's drink.
Oh, God. Yeah, we're going to do... So, that's a new thing. Every time that I fuck up Cincy Brewcast's name, we have to drink, which means we're going to be wasted before this segment is done. Gnome, I am sorry that for whatever reason, I don't get your podcast name right, even though I've been listening to it for a ridiculously long amount of time.
Yeah.
So let me take a break.
We even sponsored that.
We even
episode.
sponsored the episode, and I still don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
Right.
I'm going to take my drink for misspeaking your name. Marco, do you want to let everyone know what this episode was about?
Absolutely. So the Gnarly Gnome sat down with Dell from 16 Lots over at 16 Lots in Mason. And, they got into all things 16 Lots. It's been 2 years. I can't believe it's been that long.
I know.
Since they sat down and talked. But it was when Dell was fresh on board. The last time they talked was fresh on board with 16 Lots, having left 50 West and taking a little bit of time off to weigh his options and decide what direction he was going to go with or go in. And he wound up... going to 16 Lots.
Going ownership route within 16 Lots.
Yeah,
which is
ownership
really
route
cool.
with 16 Lots.
First, I do want to say this episode of Cincy Brewcast, got it right, was sponsored by Truth Beer and Podsequences. So thank you so much to the Gnome for doing a fantastic job of letting people who may not be familiar with our show know about our show. Going into this episode, the title mentioned mostly the Southern Outpost, which is going to be 16 Lots' second location, and the evolution of 16 Lots. I will say it did feel like most of the first third to half of the episode seemed to be a lot about just general craft beer statistics and current 16 Lots happenings, and not so much the new location. But it was fine. It was still a really cool conversation. Dell mentioned that with COVID, e-commerce became a much bigger part of a lot of craft breweries than what I think anyone ever really thought could happen or intended to happen, which is kind of neat. Go ahead.
Which is how a brewery like Athletic ends up being in the top 25 in barrels produced. It's not because everybody's
going to their tap room. It's because their e-commerce platform and their marketing for that. Absolutely. If you are able to get your beer sales online, and even if it's local pickup or if you are able to ship your beer, that e-commerce portion of what your business is suddenly much more relevant to what it ever was before COVID.
Right.
Yeah, and Dell definitely made sure to point that out. I did notice that there was no From the Beer Fridge button when they talked about what they were drinking.
Uh-oh.
What? I would say, what is this world coming to? But what is Cincy Brewcast coming to if we don't get our favorite button of the episode?
Maybe he only uses it when he's in Hamilton.
Oh, that's true. That's true. The Hamilton Brewcast. Dell actually did, and I thought this was really neat, the entire first quarter of the show in French with Gnome translating.
Yes.
Gnome did an amazing job of that. I didn't know he knew
my
French.
God. I didn't know
Dell
we were
threw
going
that
in.
out there. So the introduction was, all in English, and then they started talking about a couple things that had to do with different styles of beer. They got into lambics, terroir, and then Dell just immediately broke into some beautiful sounding French.
Well, hit us with some French, Julia.
Oh my God. Je m'appelle Julia.
Okay.
I don't know.
There you go.
It's terrible. It's awful. Dell did a much better job than I ever could. But it was interesting listening to a podcast to where one of the guests was for 10 to 15 minutes speaking a different language, and the host of the show is translating it while still having a conversation with them.
Right.
It was a very dynamic part of the show, and definitely something that's worth listening to.
Also worth taking and making that a clip and sending it in to see if they can't get a podcast award of some sort.
Yes. The most innovative podcast award for translation during live interviews.
That's right.
I'd vote for it.
I'd vote for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
What clip or what, if we could only send one clip of this show, which one would we submit to try and get an award?
Oh, good God. I think that it would have to be any episode with one of your impressions.
Okay.
Any part of it. So either like last episode's Prince deadlift impression, which was,
yes.
my God, absolutely brilliant. Or the episode where we talked about Joe and Caroline going to Hungary?
To Germany.
To Germany, yes. And oh my God, I still just, my brain just shuts down when I think about that episode. It was amazing. But that would be what I would submit.
Okay.
I would
right.
submit something where you are doing one of your world-renowned impressions.
All right. Well, send in your suggestions and hit us up on social media. Let us know if we sent in a clip to try and get a podcast award, which one it would be. I'd truly appreciate your feedback. Okay, and back to 16 lots.
So Dell has an SOS beer, which I've never heard of before.
Yes, this is a great concept.
But it makes perfect sense. I love it. So if Dell is in a situation, a party, some social event where he's like, I need to get out of here. I need to find a way to break away from either the current group that I'm talking to or the event as a whole.
Right.
He has a very specific beer that someone in one of his friends, someone that's there with him, knows is his SOS beer, that if he says, hey, give me a Coors, whatever it may be, I'm just throwing that out there.
You have to listen to find out which one it is.
What his SOS beer actually is. But if he's with a certain group of people and they hear him say, hey, can you get me one of these beers, they know that they need to find a way to extract him from that situation.
Yep.
I love
Parachute
that idea.
release.
Yes, I absolutely love that idea.
Mm-hmm.
I think that everyone should have not only an SOS beer, but a group of friends who know that SOS beer.
Great idea.
So that if you're just going, even just May is Mental Health Month, even if you're just in a situation to where mentally you are just becoming drained, if you could just say, hey, Marco, can you get me a Westside Double IPA? You would know that I need to go outside, get some fresh air, whatever the case may be. So an SOS beer is a brilliant idea.
Great idea.
I love that Dell has it, and I love that he talked about it.
Yeah.
So talk amongst your friends. See if you guys can come up with an SOS beer to where if there's something that, a situation you need to get out of, you have a way to very casually and without anyone else knowing, you can remove yourself or have other people help you get out of those situations. I don't think Dell intended it to be that serious, as serious as I just made it, but it's definitely something that's a great idea.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a very good idea.
Love it.
I also love that they talked about how, and this is something that in Cincy Brewcast, Gnome has talked about a lot.
Hamilton?
Yes. But more specifically than Hamilton beer, or beer in general, is situational. Like sometimes, like a PBR is the best beer, depending on the situation that you're in.
Okay.
Or what's something that Danny from Sonder Stories would say, like a beer is a feeling. Sometimes your memory or you know, I'll use my example that everyone makes fun of me for. You mow the yard. Not that I do that anymore. Thank you so much to my neighbors for mowing my yard for me. But
she hired them. They didn't just come over.
No. Right. I pay
because she hasn't mowed her yard.
Dude, this lady's not doing what she needs to do. If we don't want the neighborhood to go to shit, we need to take care of this. So, but I'll tell you what, when I was mowing my yard, One of the best.
I crack a beer after he's done.
One of the best beers that I have ever had when you're done mowing and you are sweaty and hot and it's like July and the humidity is 5 billion% and it's just gross.
Big Bad Baptist.
No.
Oh, okay.
Natter Days.
Oh.
You knew I was going to say it. But there is something. That situation makes that just the best beer for that situation. And you could probably hand me anything other than Big Bad Baptist.
Days, Josh.
And he would. I love my Josh. He is amazing. Beers are situational. I mean, there are some times where you could be handed the cheapest beer out there, something that you've never heard of. Who knows how long it's been sitting on the shelf, but in that situation, it's the best beer. And that's kind of a theme that comes up in Cincy Brewcast in multiple conversations that he's had.
Right.
And it's good to hear that other people maybe unknowingly agree with it, that sometimes it's not about the beer. It's about the situation, the environment that you're having.
Imagine you're in like Swift Current, Saskatchewan, and it's June, and it's negative 10 degrees.
Yep.
And, you just need something to warm you up. And, you get tossed a
tangerine
blue,
IPA or a blue.
You get tossed
Or
a
a
blue.
blue.
It's got to be tasty. I mean, that's going to be really tasty.
Yes. And not to divert too much from Cincy Brewcast, but shout out to our friends up at the Newbert Report. If you like the sports puck, the hockey, other sports conversations, and craft beer that you really can't get anywhere outside of Canada, check out the Newbert Report. They're great guys. We have formed such an amazing friendship just through podcasting.
Yep.
But back to Cincy Brewcast and
Okay.
Dell and 16 Lots.
Okay.
So they talked about how there needs to be a word for kind of that situational beer, that beer that just gives you that reminder, that feeling of, man, this is such a great experience or situation. And Gnome said it probably had to be a German word because Germans have a word for everything, which is true. I looked it up.
Oh, here we go.
You can call me David, but I did the research.
Okay.
And I found that there is a German word for recreating a feeling of positivity and enthusiasm and sentimentality, which I feel like pulls into the whole idea of a situational beer. I am not going to pronounce this correctly, but I'm going to try my best. Schmierverei. Schwarmerei. Schmierverei. Schmierverei.
All right.
I think I'm doing that more with a French accent than a German
French guy.
accent because
Yeah.
I took French in high school, even though my background is German. Go figure. That's why I gave you the spelling of it, but that is
Joe.
the German Joe.
And Caroline.
Let us know, did we do that right? But that is the German word for recreating a feeling of positivity and enthusiasm and excessive sentimentality, which I think is the word that the Gnome and Dell were looking for.
Perfect.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome.
There you go.
Hey, next beer's on you.
All right, so after all of that, that's when they started talking about 16 Lots' second location down at Newport on the Levee,
The
which is
Deuce.
super cool. It's going to be called the Southern Outpost, and it sounds like it's going to be an absolutely phenomenal space.
Right.
It's going to have, plenty of taps. They didn't really mention if they're going to have any Newport-specific beers that you can only get there, but knowing Dell, I've met him once, but knowing what they try to do, I have a feeling that there will be some beers that they're only going to sell there.
To meet Dell is to know Dell.
True dat. They did say that their preference is, and I say 16 Lots, the preference is not to package their beer, but to keep it just on draft. So I
Right.
don't know if they will ever package and distribute any beers from the Newport location.
Going to lean very heavily into the nautical theme.
Correct.
They're going to brew with water from the Ohio River.
It will be filtered first, so for those of you going, that's disgusting. It is going to go through a filtration process. It's
Yep.
going. So I heard that one of the tanks they're going to use that's going to be visible from the space is shaped like a submarine, which
Yep.
is something that Gnome mentioned they needed at the Mason location
Right, in the
because again
parking
of
lot.
the nautical
Yeah.
kind of steampunk-esque theme that 16 Lots tend to do for a lot of their beers. They will have a cigar lounge
Yep.
at the Newport on the Levee location. It will be filtered. It'll be it's not going to be something to where it's like you're just sitting on a patio smoking a cigar. It's going to be something to where it's a pleasant environment.
Right,
and
it'll
it's
be a
not going
lounge.
to it'll be a lounge. It's not going to impact the people that want to sit on the patio or inside the main tap room.
It's actually going
that
to be on
don't want to
another
have-
side.
Correct.
To where, if you don't want to be, if you think a patio area where you can basically have a smoking section, right? That's not really the case. The way
Right.
they're describing it is there's a patio area, and then on another side of the building, there's a cigar lounge.
That.
Apparently, it's
Interrupting
illegal to
your
smoke in I guess
in
Kentucky.
Newport, right, and on the or specifically on the levee, I wasn't
Right.
sure exactly what.
You have to leave the levee and go to Florence to smoke.
Yes,
So,
but 16 Lots was able to find a way to say, if we do it like this,
that's right.
can we do it? And they went,
Yeah. Yeah,
sure,
they were
go
good
for
with
it.
it.
Very cool to hear.
Rubber stamped it.
Let's see, what else do we have? Dell and 16 Lots, they encourage blending of their beers, making your own cuvée essentially.
Right.
They have their barrel aged beer series, their Secret Society series that recently came out. They understand that while they may have just a single adjunct in some of these beers, sometimes mixing, say, a vanilla porter with a mocha porter. These aren't their beers. I'm making that up. It is my truth.
Right.
I don't know why I even just told you guys that. But hey, whatever. That's a flavor profile that people might really enjoy, but maybe it wouldn't do well as its own bottle.
Right.
Banana came up a lot in the conversation that they had about blending. So it'll be very interesting to see what they do at both locations. If you walk in and see their tap list and say, hey, can you pour me a blend of tap 1 and tap 4?
Right. They have a beer.
I'm very curious
they
to
have
see what they do with that.
A birch beer, and then they have a raspberry beer, and then when
Yeah.
you put them together, it's a twig and berries.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. And Dell, if you don't capitalize on this, March 1st will. All I'm saying.
Oh, for sure.
All I'm saying there.
Astra.
So,
Astra twig and berries.
hey, they're too classy for that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, right.
Let's see. They
They
have,
were making shandies with what was it? Mountain Dew.
Listen to show. We're going to talk about shift beers next, but definitely listen to shift beers because my God, some of the things that they come up with they're brilliant in the most ridiculous way possible. So Cincy Brewcast, Dell, they talked a lot about Kenny's day drinking lager and Dell's. I don't even want to
He beat
call
the
it a
NFL.
project, but yes, he beat the NFL. He and I'm sure there were more people involved, but we didn't really get a lot of names.
No, we give
other
Dell
than
all the
Dell,
credit.
so Dell gets all the credit
All
for
the
this.
credit. He beat the NFL.
He made sure that if the NFL came back to him for the Kenny's Day Drinking Lager, either the name of the beer or the can design for the packaged product, he could say,
That's right.
I have all these boxes checked. I verified with, and the Venn diagrams of the people he actually interacted with, like how he got into contact with some of these people to ensure he was not breaking any copyright laws, was absolutely amazing. That was a really, really cool part.
He basically
of the
asked Roger
conversation.
Goodell if he likes dragons.
Yeah. And Roger's like, well, yeah, who doesn't? Well, can I put it on my beer can? And Goodell's like, I guess.
He's like,
And he had that conversation.
Oh, you like dragons?
Yeah, and he had the conversation recorded, so all he had to do was just play it back when he got that cease and desist. And he was like, no, Goodell said he liked dragons, and I could put it on the can.
Like dragons.
The lawyer's just like, I don't believe it. He hit play on whatever recording device he had, and it's just like, well, shit.
Dragon D's.
I guess you're allowed to do that. Super cool. I don't know. I can't think of another local brewery that would have the balls to even attempt that and to make that happen. Good on them.
Yeah, way to go.
Good on them. Let's see, what else was there? The whole section of the podcast about the Southern Outpost, which is the Newport on the Levee I almost said expansion, but it's a complete separate location, not an expansion.
Right.
Was really only the second half or a little more than a third of the episode, so it wasn't a huge portion of it. They talked about absinthe service. They have they have that at the Mason location. They'll have it at the Newport on the Levee, the Southern Outpost location as well. Really cool. I've always wanted to try absinthe, and
let's go.
You can get let's do it. Let's wrap up the show early and go up to 16 lots.
Yeah.
And see what kind of trouble we can get into. Some personal notes that Del kind of ended the show with. Some breaking news that we may or may not be exposing for the first time in a public forum. You will have to listen to Cincy Brewcast to find out. Del said that he was either just in LA for a few days filming, or he's going to be in LA for a few days.
Yeah, I think it just wrapped up. So
he may or may not have dropped this on the podcast, but apparently he is now he was able to be the rose, not presenter, but the rose keeper for the next season of The Bachelor.
Right.
So the person, they hand out a rose, like, oh, I want to keep dating you and you and you and you, and it's a really weird situation.
Right.
Someone needs to make sure that those roses stay fresh and in pristine condition to be handed to the contestants that are still in the running to marry the guy that doesn't know what he wants.
Right.
Del was brought on to be that rose keeper, which is huge. So you may or may not be seeing him on a future season of The Bachelor. You will definitely have to keep an eye on social media and or watch The Bachelor to find out. He also mentioned that the Southern Outpost open date, the estimate for that opening is March, but he didn't say what year. So it could be 2023, 2024, it could be 3032 for all we know.
Yeah.
So I guess just keep an eye on 16 Lots social media page, though he did say that when they open, he already has one of the biggest bands you have ever heard of.
Yep.
Scheduled to open on the stage that's going to be part of their whole environment. And Marco, do you want to?
Journey.
I've been to a Journey concert, and it was phenomenal. So the fact that 16 Lots
it's going to have Journey
signed them to be the opening band is ridiculous. Since I almost said Cincinnati Brewcast again.
But you didn't.
I didn't. I came close. So does that mean we do or don't drink if I come close? Let's drink, because that's what we do on the show. Oh, no.
We do.
Are you good? Are you good?
We really drink.
Is your
I got
glass?
enough.
You got enough? Okay, so Marco has enough to drink. Good. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Listen to this episode of Cincy Brewcast, 16 Lots, the Southern Outpost, and Evolution with Del Hall. It was an awesome listen. A lot of good information about 16 Lots as a whole, as well as the Southern Outpost, which will be opening up at Newport on the Levee one of these Marches coming up in the future. Who knows which one?
Yep.
Was there anything else you wanted to talk about before we take a break so you can get a refill and then we talk about shift beers?
No.
right.
Nah,
not a thing.
No.
All right.
No.
Well, we're going to take a real quick break, and we will be right back with you guys.
Okay.
Hang tight. We made it back.
We did.
We did it.
We did. I don't know if it was ever in question, but yeah, we did.
But hey, you know what? The listeners don't know how long these breaks actually take.
That's true.
It could be hours. It could be days. This could be the next week.
Could be.
And with the magic of editing, they'd have no clue.
They don't.
No, they really don't.
Nope.
I'm a slow drinker, so I am still enjoying my Alpine Architecture from Seventh Son, but you have a very different glass than your BC's Bottlage Montgomery Mug Club mug, filled with a very different looking liquid than what you had at the beginning of the show.
That's right.
So what have you transitioned into for part 2 of our podcast?
So I went from Sway Strawberry Guava, which is a vodka soda from MadTree,
very good,
to Guiness
Hell
Dry Irish Stout in a 20-ounce Guinness glass.
Is there any other way to have a Guinness than in a big-ass glass?
No. I don't. I mean, not if you have the choice, right?
This is true. I mean, take what you
I have
can
one.
get.
Do you have a
but
big Guinness glass at home?
I do.
I have one,
I
too.
do. I got mine for free at Delhi Liquor. They were doing a Guinness tasting, something like that, and they were offering free etched glasses. And so I'm like, sure.
Yeah,
I'll
I
take
did
a
the same
free-
thing. But mine was etched at Kroger. They were doing if you did a Guinness tasting of three Guinness, three different Guinness, Guinea, I don't know.
Guinea. Guinea is the proper multiple form of Guinness beer. So.
And so I got the glass, and then I had it etched.
What
I
do you have your? You don't remember?
I forgot what it
Okay,
was. It was
okay.
something stupid. Like,
So mine,
like hi there.
So
or something.
my experience, they didn't even make me drink anything. They're just like, yeah, we're offering samples if you want them, but if you just want a glass, just let us know what you want us to etch on the glass. And I'm like, got a glass that's etched with J&J drinks for Julia and Josh drinks.
All right.
I couldn't think of
Nice.
anything. It was a very quick, what do you want? And I panicked, and that was the first thing I could think
That's
of.
kind of what happened with me. I kind of panicked. I'm like, what do I put on this
Oh
glass?
no! Oh God!
It's gonna be on there forever.
Speaking of, it's going to be on there forever.
Right.
We have another podcast to talk about.
Yeah. Shit
And
beers.
It is Shift Beers, episode 80. Good job on them for 80 episodes.
Octogenarians over there.
Amazing. We're on episode 42, which, as everyone knows, is the answer to everything. So if you listen to this episode of Truth, Beer, and Consequences, you have the answers to everything
Very good.
buried somewhere within this episode. So listen carefully. This episode was titled Shelf Turds and Freshie Boys.
That's right.
And if you're a craft beer drinker, you know exactly what that means. But if you're not, or if you're new to craft beer or new to buying packaged beer, they went out and looked for the oldest packaged beer that they could find on the shelves, as well as the freshest, the newest packaged beer. So the beers that had been canned the most recently.
Right.
And they were having a little competition to see who won, who could find the oldest and who could find the freshest.
Yep.
They recorded at Beth's house. And the biggest takeaway that I had for this episode,
Is that Corey made pancakes?
he made fucking pancakes.
Yeah. Which is
I
what you
need to
eat
know-
after you have a pickup basketball game with Prince.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not sure about the Prince reference, listen to last week's episode. It is absolutely amazing. I still cannot control myself when I listen to it. I need to know what kind of pancakes. Was it just like these? I don't want to say vanilla because that's a flavor, but just standard
Oh,
pancakes.
I'd imagine
Was
they
it
were
berries? Was there a was
yeah.
it like a berry compote on top of
Blueberries,
them?
probably.
Blueberries,
Chocolate chip pancakes.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I'd
So-
imagine that it had all the things. If Corey was making it, it had all
It
the
had to
things.
be amazing.
Right?
So,
whipped cream
so
with
Beth,
raspberries.
Chris, Josh, and Brian, please let us know what kind of pancakes did Corey make. But also, are Peggy and Nacho okay after the situation that happened with the recording of this episode happening at Beth's house? We are very concerned. Peggy and Nacho need to be protected at all costs. I want to make sure that they are okay.
Good.
That's what I want to start with.
Yes.
One of the things that they're starting to talk a little shit about us because we're starting to talk a little shit about them. And it's
By a little shit, do you mean like when I said Chris opens beer bottles with his ass crack?
I mean,
Or by shit, do you mean like when I said Gilbert Gottfried couldn't
Yeah.
actually shrink
Or-
Chris's ass crack?
I made the joke about having a lotion called No Crack that we
That's right.
talked about. If you rub it on Chris's ass crack, will that shorten the extremely long one? So is it shit or shade that we're throwing at Shift Beers, or is it just at Chris? Now I will say
He was
that
the one that was hired
True.
to knock me off.
This is true, but at the same time, I believe he may have been the one that brought some strawberry basmati down to the place
That's
that
true.
they don't work at,
The balsamic?
which is the strawberry balsamic, which is my favorite, like warm weather beer.
We should go have some.
We should. Let's hurry up, wrap this up, and we can. I mean, we might be able to get up there before they're done working.
Yeah.
For all they know.
Whoever said they were working.
Do they? Here's more shade. So I want to start off.
Okay.
Josh talked about Twisted Tea Tips, Josh's Twisted Tea Tips.
Right.
And how, oh no, Truth Beer Pod is kind of stealing that. Okay, so today's TBP, Truth Beer Pod, TBP TTT, the Truth Beer Pod Twisted Tea Tip. If Josh isn't going to own the Twisted Tea Tips, he can't be mad when someone else takes over and has one.
That's right.
That is the Truth Beer Pod Twisted Tea Tip of the week.
Look at me.
We never even said,
I'm the captain now.
hell yeah. We even said we don't expect Josh to like have them weekly, maybe once a month. Just create like a Twitter account, Josh's Twisted Tea Tips, and just give us a terrible.
You should tweet a
terrible
Twisted
tip.
Tea Tip out from our
Yes.
from our account.
Yes, I think I'm going to do that. Follow us at Truth Beer Pod on Twitter and see what Twisted Tea Tip we come up with next. It'll be amazing. But no, we love shift beers, and it is such a fun show to listen to.
Yeah.
I always look forward to Monday mornings because I know that 99% of the time there's going to be an episode of Shift Beers to listen to. Sometimes life gets in the way. That's fine.
Yep.
This episode was a rush episode.
Yeah.
Chris had to get
And we're not
home.
talking about the band.
No. Great band. No relation to the set. Well, okay band.
What?
I like progressive rock, so for me, Rush I tend to like more modern progressive rock. We could go down a whole rabbit hole about music.
Okay.
We're going to stick
Maybe
shift
another
beers.
day.
Or another bonus episode.
Oh, it could be.
You never know.
That we're recording at March 1st later.
That would be amazing. Or at 16 lots while we're drinking absinthe. So
That's true, too.
Let's rush through this Rush episode
Yeah,
that they did and determine what we're going to do for the rest of our evening. It was the entire team. It was all four of the Shift Beers crew, which is awesome. We've missed having a couple people here and there on
Right.
the last few episodes. Let's see. So there were, out of the freshest beers, and we want you to listen to this episode because it's a lot of fun. Listening to them try to rush through an episode because Chris needs to get home before he suffers the wrath of his wife is amazing.
They start recording a
It's
podcast
amazing.
when Chris has to leave in 20 minutes.
And if you've listened to their episodes before, you know that timetable, like that doesn't add up.
Yeah, that's
One does not equal
kind
the
of
other.
not true to form for them.
There was a 3-way tie for who had the freshest beers.
Hell yeah.
All of their beers, or the 3 winners, were canned on 4/27, on April 27th. There was only one winner for the oldest packaged beer, but there was also a little bit of debate on if it was fair on who won the oldest packaged beer.
Yeah, there's a
Which
little...
I agree with. Like I agree with the conversation and the, should it have been the oldest beer as far as what has been aged on store shelves almost intentionally, such as
Right.
like a stout kind of beer, a lambic, something like that, or should it have been purely a beer that you expect to be fresh, like an IPA, that wasn't?
Neither were wrong, but I think in the
right.
spirit of the idea, I think Chris was more true to the original intent.
I agree. I think that the winner of the oldest packaged beer, which definitely listen because it was old as fuck. Like the beer that won the oldest package date, super old, and it was off a shelf. It wasn't out of one of their cellars. It
Right.
was bought at a store. But I agree with you 100%. I think the intent was this should not still be sitting on shelves.
Right.
Yet it is.
Right.
Which can, as they very well, they explained it very well, can change your entire opinion on a brewery or on a style or on a specific brewery's beer if what you're grabbing off the shelves is months and months and months old, as opposed to that exact same beer, but it's only been on the shelf for a couple weeks.
Right.
Yeah. They actually gave the number of beers that they've drank in all episodes this year, not
Right.
out of all time, and it was a hell of a number.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
It was, we know that they drink a lot of beers, but this was a number that actually surprised even me at how high it was. So definitely listen to this episode.
Surprised me as well.
Out.
Also made me think about the ones that the amount that we
drink. Yeah, exactly. And we haven't hit 1 year yet, but I can definitely go back through all the episodes and tally up. And this will be individual different beers. We drink a shit ton of Rally Cap. Rally Cap on slow pour. We typically both of us have at least one every recording session.
Right.
So that would just count as one. But as far as how many different beers have we had throughout the recording of Truth Beer Pod, Gesundheit.
Thank you.
As far as the amount of different beers that we have had on Truth Beer and Podsequences, I'll look that up. I'll see if I can tally that up.
And I think, too, the number might not be as striking because there are weeks, and sometimes several weeks in a row, where we come and many of the offerings are similar or the same, and so we end up going back to that beer again and again.
Right, exactly. But we still drink a lot of beer in our recording sessions. In general. They had not only a triple bussin beer this episode.
Oh, yeah.
But they also had a triple bussin no cap beer.
That's right.
This episode.
Shoo, shoo.
Shoo, shwee, hey. We don't need a button for that. We can do that ourselves.
Yeah, you did.
Awesome.
Good job, Julia.
Thank you. I've been practicing, like at home in the mirror late at night. Josh is asleep. I get up at like 3 a.m. to go to the bathroom, and I'm like,
this is it.
This is it. I'm doing it. And
right. You look in the mirror and you hear Eminem's like the theme song to 8 Mile in your head, and you're like, choo choo.
It's paying off, though. I'm telling you. Let's see. So besides the triple bussin and the triple bussin no cap beer, they had a Detroit Lambic, which I had no idea was a thing, but my God, why not?
Yeah,
why not?
Right? A Detroit Lambic.
And I played David for their podcast. They were questioning what is the opposite of a gush for beers that. For those of you new to the craft beer world, if you crack open a beer and it just immediately overflows and erupts, it's a gusher. But they were like, well, what's the opposite of that? So I'm like, this sounds kind of simple, but let me do a little bit of David research.
Okay.
There are multiple words, but a couple of the opposites of a gush would be an ebb, a recede, or a flow back, which all would make perfect sense when applied to beer, especially Flowback.
Yeah. Flowback, isn't that a Canadian rock band?
I believe so. Newbert Report, let us know. I think that the Flowback is a very, very popular Canadian band.
Right.
It's seasonal, so especially this time of year is when people tend to listen to them the most. Or it could just be the Flowbots. Who knows? We'll find out.
Yeah.
Newbert Report will let us know. So they also gave kind of a little peek behind the curtain. There could be a cease and desist going to the owner of shiftbeers.com.
Oh, yeah.
For merch IP theft. Terrible IP theft. So they're trying to make sure that their branding is on brand. That's like the Department of Redundancy department. I don't know what I just said there. But they have multiple ways that you can support their site. So they have shiftbee.rs.com, jadrinkin.com. Good luck spelling that one, especially if you've been drinking. And they were trying to get shiftbeers.com, but so far the owner of shiftbeers.com has been a giant douche canoe and is now selling Shift Beers merch. That sucks ass, so don't go there. But go to shiftbeerspodcast.com to find everything you need for Shift Beers. And holy shit, that's all that I have aside from the burp count for this episode.
Yeah.
It was quick. Chris had to get home.
Yeah.
Hopefully Chris got home in time to not incur the wrath of his wife. We'll find out next week if he's on the show or not. Or if we stop by there after this.
Next week.
Stay tuned. This is a cliffhanger. Did Chris survive
or Dangles
getting home? We know Dangles survived.
Yeah.
But did Chris survive getting home late when he promised his wife he would be home early?
Dun, dun, dun.
Telling you. So, Marco, do you want to go over what the burp count game is that we do?
Sure, Julia. I'll go ahead and let everyone know what the
You
burp
do such
count
a great
game
job
is.
of it.
Well, thank you. So there's one show, one podcast that we decided is perfect for a drinking game, and that is Shift Beers. And what we do is we count all the audible burps. We count the number of burps, and based off of an average drink of, say, 2 ounces of liquid, we give you the total number of ounces, and then we break that down into pints and let you know how many pints, if you're playing the drinking game along with Shift Beers, you would have had to have in that time frame of the podcast episode.
All right, so for episode 80 of Shift Beers, Shelf Turds and Freshie Boys. I love that name.
That's good.
That is a great episode
Shelf Turd?
name. I don't love Shelf Turds, but again, as far as an episode name, that's amazing. They were worried. They thought that their numbers weren't very high. They thought it was more quality over quantity.
Yeah.
But for a ridiculously fast for them episode, they had 51 burps.
Okay, good.
Which is 102 ounces of liquid.
All right.
Which translates down to 6.37 pints
Ah.
of whatever you chose to drink during this episode of
good.
Shift Beer. So not bad at all.
Ah, very good.
Not bad at
Very
all.
good.
I mean, I don't even get through 3 or 4 pints of beer while we're recording our show. So going through a 45-minute show of Shift Beers, drinking a little over 6 pints,
Yeah.
you're having a phenomenal night.
Yeah. Very
All
good.
right. Well, was there anything else you had on Shift Beers before we kind of wrap up this episode? This is a fast one. We didn't have a whole lot to.
No, it was interesting.
over, yeah.
The only thing I'll mention, true story, I was at the place they don't work at early in the day last week and saw Brian.
Nice.
And then I came over to BC's and
Saw Brian again?
had lunch. I picked up Buffalo Wild Wings, and I ate Buffalo
nice.
Wild Wings here.
Nice.
While I was sitting here eating, Brian walked in.
I was joking, but that's amazing.
Yeah, Brian walked
That's
in.
awesome. And you're just like, wait a minute.
Yeah, so he picked up a couple of beers and told me that he was heading over to Beth's house to record the episode. So,
Oh, that's cool.
So that was kind of funny.
That's cool. Well, it sounded like they had a phenomenal time. Again, hopefully Nacho and Peggy are okay. Beth, let us know. We really want to make sure that the most important parts of the show have recovered from the potential mental trauma of what you guys do on a weekly basis. So that's all that I have for that. To wrap up this show, again, if you would like to support Truth, Beer, and Podsequences, first and foremost, support the shows that we talk about. Listen to their podcast, because without them making content, without them having listenership, we have nothing to talk about. We do not have content to recap and provide to you. In addition to that, please like, subscribe, share, review, steal your friends and family's phones and subscribe on their podcatchers.
That's the best practice, by the way.
That really is. I mean, unintentionally getting someone else to subscribe. It's kind of like when you have oh my God, what are you?
Oh,
Marco's jaw just hit the
wow.
floor. What
I see a beer in the cooler.
What beer do you see in the cooler?
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
It's been on the show before, Julia.
Oh no! What are you doing? What are we doing?
no.
What are we doing that I am going to regret a lot?
Stay tuned.
Oh fuck! But anyway, please support us, like, review, subscribe, share, tell your friends, tell your family, anyone that you know that enjoys craft beer but thinks, I don't have time to listen to a whole bunch of additional podcasts, especially about craft beer. Tell them to listen to us, and then from there decide what other craft beer podcasts you want to listen to. Follow us on social media. We are at Truth Beer Pod everywhere. We're trying to get on TikTok, but neither of us understand it, and we don't know what kind of videos to put out. So let us know on the other social media platforms what kind of videos you want to see. Email us those ideas, truthbeerpod@gmail.com. Check out our website, truthbeerpod.com. Look for the big blue support us link to send us a couple bucks if you feel so inclined, so that we can buy additional beers to drink on the show, or to continue to help upgrade our equipment to get better and better for you. We appreciate each and every one of you so incredibly much. And that's all that I've got.
That's plenty, Julie. I think you covered it all. And so what are you going to do next Tuesday?
I'm going to listen to all of the Cincinnati craft beer podcasts that are available to us, and then I'm going to show up here at BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery to talk about them with you, Marco. How about you?
That's what I'm going to do, Julia.
Awesome. Cheers.
Cheers.